Blam!
Death cakes.
Welcome to another episode of Movie Morons. I'm your host, Jackson, and this is my awesome co-host, Holden.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Alrighty, guys, as always, we got some crazy movie pitches for you today, and this one here is definitely crazy. We're tackling Indiana Jones.
Classic movie franchise.
Classic movie franchise. I've got a pitch for Indiana Jones here that I think you're really going to love.
Probably not, but again, this is another franchise that I like a lot. I have a lot of feelings towards these movies, and hopefully you can do something to help me get excited for Indiana Jones movies again.
Well, let me level with you. This one, it's not my best.
It's not your best?
Not my best.
Obviously, none of them have been your best, but this one you're saying isn't your best.
I don't feel like it's my best. I'm not proud. Like, you thought George Lucas raped your childhood. This is gonna be pretty bad.
Okay.
But first, we start off here. This movie takes place in 1980.
Okay, so the last one, Indiana Jones, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull,
was in the 50s.
Like in the 50s.
Yeah, so this
So
is
we're jumping 30
years later. We're jumping 30 years later. It's 10 years after...
Honestly, Indiana Jones would be like 90.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just 10 years when he was 80 years old, he mysteriously disappeared, never to be seen from again.
Okay.
Okay, so that's when he was 80 in 1970 or something.
Okay.
And he was investigating the mysterious structure Stonehenge in England.
Yeah, good old stone.
Good old Stonehenge, the mysterious Neolithic structure. And but our movie centers around a new hero, Rodney McRae.
Rodney McRae.
Rodney McRae.
Doesn't have such the great name of like Indiana Jones.
Well, I mean, Henry Jones is pretty normal. Rodney McRae's all right.
That's not normal. Rodney McRae.
Rodney McRae, Henry Jones, they're, comparable.
Not really.
Okay.
But go ahead.
I'm not married to the name. We could change it.
It doesn't sound like you're married to the story.
But essentially, ever since Indiana Jones' disappearance, he's been a hero among the archaeology world. Specifically to our new hero, Rodney McRae, who is an ex-Hawaiian football player who became an archaeologist.
I know where you're going here.
Played by the best ex-Hawaiian football player, The Rock.
Okay.
So he quit football, became an archaeologist because of his hero, Indiana Jones.
He's like, I could have been a football
Yeah,
player,
he could
but
have
I'm
been
like,
pro. But he was seduced by the life of adventure that Indiana Jones seemed to have.
there's more of a rush in the adventure of like archaeology
Yeah.
than there is in football for him.
For him. Well, that's what it seemed like here. He got into this life here, realized that it's not necessarily all Indiana Jones. Now he's working as like a museum curator or something, pencil pushing, wearing a sweater vest and talking about old rocks and stuff like that.
Rock is talking about rocks.
The Rock is talking about rocks. And, he's just like, this is what I got into this for. I wanted to be like Indiana Jones, man. I wanted to adventure and, explore some caves and stuff like that. So he goes and he quits his job. He goes to the museum manager or whatever, probably get like Jason Sudeikis or something, and he quits. Jason Sudeikis like outraged, but The Rock goes ahead and leaves. He books a flight to London to go ahead and explore some of the mysterious caves that Indiana Jones disappeared while.
Some of the last caves.
Some of the last caves that he went to here to try and see if he could find out what he was researching. So he gets there, he does some exploring, maybe meets like a chick or something there. You have a little bit of romance in there, a little bit.
Who would
of
play
comedy.
the chick?
Like Rosario Dawson or something.
Okay.
She's some English
English.
Yeah, because he's in London now.
So she's going to have to do a British
Well, I
accent.
guess maybe she's not English. She's in England too. She's backpacking or something.
Okay.
She's somebody who came from the States to England, and they're like, "Hey, I'm from the States too," and they get
That's
along
how they
that
connect.
way.
That's
how
why they
connect.
bang each other, because they're both from the States.
Exactly. So he finds these caves. He starts exploring here, and he goes down the wrong cave one day, and runs.
He runs into a gang.
Yeah,
You're down the wrong cave here.
he goes down the wrong gang. Runs into a terrorist jihadist group.
In the 80s?
Yeah, I think they were
the
around in the 80s. I think
Okay.
jihadists have been around forever.
Okay. Well, I mean, just like, not necessarily like, I just didn't know if they were like.
There's some sort of religious extremists that are down here, probably, they're down here just like in these caves, just like, marking up like cave drawings and stuff like that, because they're just like, we hate history. They're like ISIS, to where, how you hear like ISIS is always like smashing stuff, because they're like, we hate all this.
Yeah, burning books, all that stuff.
Yeah, burning books and destroying statues, because they're just like, this goes against our religion to have statues and stuff. So they're down there destroying all this stuff. And I mean, Rock, as an archaeologist, is like, that's my worst enemy here. So he comes in, he just starts, wrecking the shop, because he's also the Rock.
Yeah, so yeah, he's also ex-football player, The Rock.
Yeah, he's also the Rock. He starts wrecking shop and stuff. But eventually he's overpowered, because there's like, 30 of them. And they've got like AK-47s and stuff. So, they overpower him or whatever. And like their leader, who would be played by like the terrorist guy from Iron Man. That guy.
That guy.
Yeah, they
the
kind of look
bald
like
guy.
a kind of terrorist version of Mark Strong.
I guess he did, but.
So that guy, he comes
Well, okay, maybe not terrorist version, but the Middle Eastern.
Middle Eastern version.
He's
Well,
not a
in
real
that
terrorist.
movie, he was a terrorist.
I know, but he's not a real terrorist, that
Yeah,
guy.
yeah, sorry.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
he's the Mark Strong looking guy though. So yeah, he's like, you friggin' American or whatever. You coming down, doing all this stuff.
Freaking American, coming in here, doing this stuff. He seems very, like, well-spoken. For a terrorist. Usually an Indiana Jones villain is pretty well-spoken. Maybe not so much in the second one, but I mean, usually they're kind of like, the Nazi guys that are pretty well-spoken. This guy's just like, you're in here wrecking shop, and we don't like that.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's the thing with this guy here. He's kind of like
He's like, I'm
he's
not
kind
good
of
with
like
words.
Moses or something, to where he's like, I'm not good at speaking, so maybe he, he's just not very well spoken. He's got like a buddy that does all this talking.
Yeah, he's got a second to come
But
in.
The Rock essentially finds out there that the big piece of pie that they're going after is Stonehenge. That they want to go and they want to just bulldoze Stonehenge because it's some pagan, pagan structure that they want to just get rid of. And The Rock is like, you can't bulldoze Stonehenge. Stonehenge is important to the history of mankind and stuff like that. And they're just like, bah,
Bah! Humbug.
They've got him locked up or whatever. And so, the guy from Iron Man and like most of the guys leave to go bulldoze Stonehenge. And they leave The Rock there with like maybe 5 dudes, which is enough for The Rock to take.
Yeah.
So he busts out of those handcuffs.
He's just like,
As soon as they're far enough away, he busts out of those handcuffs, knocks 2 heads together, elbows 2 other guys, and then the last guy runs away.
yeah.
And so The Rock, he goes and he takes off to go find those other terrorists here that are going to bulldoze Stonehenge. Maybe Rosario Dawson meets up with him here, so that she's there too at the climax.
Because you gotta have her in the way.
Yeah, because you gotta make it like the first Indiana Jones. So they get there, and he finds out they're too late. They're illegally.
Or maybe she followed him there, or maybe she was with him and they took her, and he's got to go get her too.
Yeah, maybe
he's on his way to go stop him as well as rescue.
Yeah, maybe
her.
they took her because they were like, we want someone to watch or something. So they illegally acquired like a wrecking ball or something like that.
I just imagine like some guy being like, "All right, here's your wrecking ball," and they're just like, "Do I have to sign for it?"
Yeah, no.
Some delivery man's like, "So we got your wrecking ball here."
So The Rock sees him rolling up with this wrecking ball here, and he's like, no, he tries to stop him, takes down a couple of them, but the wrecking ball just smashes half of Stonehenge down or whatever. But what happens is, it smashes one of those stones in half. Light comes pouring out of the stone, just like whoo. Everybody like is like awed, and then you hear like throat singing, like oh, like coming from the stone and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then like up from the ground, like you see all these like stone hands like come in, and like these subterranean stone men rise from the ground and just kill all the terrorists and stuff like that for desecrating, this.
Yeah, and The Rock is like, "Don't look, Rosario
Yeah,
Dawson."
he's like, "Don't look" or whatever. Well, it's not the same thing. So what happens is they come in, they start killing the terrorists. The Rock protects her, like he's punching stone men, breaking them up and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because his fist and the Rock is
he could
powerful
probably
enough
punch stone.
to punch a stone man, and the stone man goes flying and stuff.
Yeah.
So he takes him out, but then the stone men overpower even him and capture him and take him down into their subterranean base to meet their leader.
So it's like a base. It's not necessarily like an interdimensional thing within the rock. Is it like something underneath all the rocks?
Yeah, it's underneath all the rocks.
Okay.
But the rocks are some sort of, when you break them open, there's light in them or something. There's some sort of like ancient magic thing. Like Indiana Jones,
Okay.
So he takes them down to their subterranean base, meets their leader, who is none other than Indiana Jones.
So Indiana Jones is the bad guy?
No, he's just the leader of the subterranean guys.
Yeah, who was trying to kill our leader or our hero in the book, in the movie.
I mean, for a
Who was
second,
trying to kill the hero?
they were trying to grab him.
Okay.
They weren't coming out with knives or nothing like that. They were trying to grab him so they could take him there.
Okay.
They're kind of clumsy. They're rockmen. They're kind of stupid.
Yeah. So yeah, and Indiana Jones can have a line
Henry,
like the Rockmen. They're kind of stupid.
He's like the rockmen. They're kind of stupid. He's kind of like built into the wall now. He's like half rockman himself. So he's like, I came down exploring these caves and I found the rock man. They took me down here. They made me their leader. I'm grown into half rock man into the wall now. But I'm very powerful. I'm happy, because now I'm connected to the entire world and I know pretty much everything that's going on, which is a dream for an archaeologist.
Yeah, for someone like
for being, I'm hooked into the entire rock. I'm hooked into the
Earth, the world.
I'm hooked into the Earth, so I know all the secrets of the Earth now. So it's pretty primo job for an archaeologist, for Indiana Jones.
Yeah,
so.
and The Rock is even like, "Oh, what can you tell me about the world?" And he's like, "It's for you to discover
Yeah, he's
on
like,
your
it's
own."
you discover your own. So he kind of passes the torch there, allows The Rock to become the new Indiana Jones. The Rock leaves, and he's like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go."
No, that doesn't sound too bad.
Oh, that one doesn't sound
I mean,
too
some
bad.
of the stuff sounds garbage, like him being hooked to the wall and stuff like that. But I do like the idea of like him doing that, and then also being like, "It's for you to discover on your own."
Well, for
and
Indiana
then-
Jones to become some magical being.
Well, like just kind of like just that like cute whimsical thing of like I'm gonna let you kind of do it. It's a better way than being like,
Yeah.
"Here, take the hat," and not take the hat or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm getting married or whatever.
Yeah, not necessarily take a hat. I mean, maybe he could take the hat because it's like one of the last things not stonified, and he's like, "Go ahead and take it before it gets stonified."
Yeah, it's like here.
He's like, "Go ahead and take it," because like maybe his arm is free in his head, but the rest of him is like stonified into the wall.
Stonified.
So you got like a quick 10-minute cameo.
Yeah,
from,
yeah. It wouldn't have to be much
Harrison
for
Ford.
Harrison Ford, so he would be happy with that.
Yeah.
Granted, he'd have to be in makeup, but it's like again, you're only gonna have to be here for like a week or something like that filming,
Yeah, it wouldn't be that much makeup.
and you don't have to be Indiana Jones anymore.
Yep, there you go. No, I have to be in Indiana Jones. I don't really have to be in any more movies. And you're passing the torch to The Rock. It takes place in the 80s now.
Yeah,
And
so
you
it's
can do
cool.
a whole, franchise of Indiana Jones movies with The Rock.
In the
This one was The Secret of Stonehenge. You could go off and do The Curse of the Titanic or the
Search for Atlantis.
The Search for Atlantis, The Puzzle of the Pyramids, all that stuff.
Yeah, that type of stuff.
Yeah, and for this one here, because Indiana Jones is such a beloved franchise, you could have like J.J. Abrams direct it.
Okay, so J.J. Abrams goes back.
Because he could make you like it. Did it with Star Wars.
Yeah, he did it with Star Wars.
You know, that's
Yeah.
his thing. He's the legend maker.
He's the reboot.
He's
whisperer.
the reboot whisperer. There you go. And The Rock is a franchise saver. So you put them together,
You're gonna get something.
you're gonna get something. That's right.
You put us together, you'll get something, all right.
All right. Well, that was our pitch for Indiana Jones and the Secret of Stonehenge, starring The Rock and Rosario Dawson.
And Harrison Ford.
And Harrison Ford.
And the dude
the
from
dude
Iron
from Iron Man 1, who was the terrorist.
Yep.
And there you go. If you liked it, go ahead and let us know. And if you didn't like it, let us know anyways. Make sure you subscribe. And this has been Movie Morons.
Have a good day.
But yeah, it was pretty dope, right? I don't think we've had a synthetic artificial intelligence story as compelling as this since Data on Next Generation.